Welcome, everybody. Sorry for the long intro there. It took me a little bit to get sorted in the sim. This is going to be a live tutorial on the F-18. I got water next to me, so I'll be ready to talk for a while. You can see that we are running our brand new Moza F-18 panel here. Moza AB6 in the center, the Moza MLP throttle on the left here as well. So we're going to be running that. On your top right corner, you should see the list of partners that we have. So feel free to go check them out in the description. Our newest partner, of course, being Next Level Racing. That's why this whole cockpit is possible, is due to Next Level Racing. So thank you to them for giving me this to showcase. Let's say hi to you guys in chat. We got a few of you guys in chat, so I'll go say hi to you guys here if my mouse wants to play nice. Might have to use my phone. That's the problem with this setup right now, is I don't have everything kind of set currently. So phone it's gonna be for now. But we got Aiden, welcome. It's a dedication for getting the F-18 rig set up. Yeah, thanks. It was me. Simple Takeoff actually came to my house. My buddy Paul, and we used to be actually my old student, and it's Dominic. You guys know Dom. It's Dominic was at my house yesterday. I got the package at 3. It was built and ready to go at 3 a.m. 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. It was ready to go. So been a lot of work, trialing and airing, and just everything. Different rudder pedal settings and all sorts of different stuff. I think I have it in a pretty good spot right now. So we shall see how it goes. The audio is pretty good. Everything should be good. All right, good. So I don't have a second monitor yet. I do have this Moza G1000 on the right that I don't know if you can see, but I am using that as my second monitor to read chat. But we have that going, but no actual second monitor as of yet. So hopefully we'll be getting that all set up very soon. But thank you to Next Level Racing. Code CFI will save you some money if you want to buy anything on Next Level Racing. All the stuff is in the channel description down below. Jex, welcome. Hello, thanks for by. Make sure you don't do any helicopters. I don't have them. We're doing the Hornet tutorial today, guys. We're going to be covering a little bit of controls. We're going to cover some startup. Taxiing is pretty simple. We'll cover the taxi, a little bit of the takeoff portion, and then we're going to cover air-to-air. We'll talk about different missiles, what they do, kind of how a radar basics kind of stuff, just to start getting the motions flowing, and we'll shoot some stuff and come back and land for on-speed AOA training. So we'll do all that. I have water ready to go with my Sim Market cup from last year's Expo. I'll be talking quite a bit. It's lemon water. Lemon water keeps the aviation medical doctors away, so keep drinking it. You can do them when I purchase it. We will be doing Apache on this rig soon. That would be really cool. Simple Takeoffs, hello, welcome. Jeff says F-16 next. I gotta get back in the Viper. I haven't flown the Viper in quite a bit. The Viper is never my main. I always went to the 14 or the F4 or the Viggen, the Harrier a long time ago, but never got into the Viper. I don't know what it was. Must be a pain switching from F-18 to 220. It is, my friend. It is an absolute pain, and I'm working on a way to try to fix that. But we're also using Track IR as well. Fun fact, the light that you see in the room behind me is actually the dome light from the Wingflex A320 overhead panel. So we're doing that. Love seeing the G1000 as a monitor. Yeah, it works. It's just power and a USB. That's it. That's all it needs. So let's stop in the flight deck here. F1 brings you in the flight deck. You can double click your mouse wheel and that will go ahead and you can move around. Obviously we have Track IR today, so I can move my head as well. We're going to pause that though. If you ever in a weird spot, you can press numpad 5. That'll bring you right back to the center. And yeah, so this airplane was actually hot started, and I kind of did the quickest of all quickest shutdowns, and I hope I kind of got everything in the position it's supposed to be in. But we're going to go ahead and do a startup. But before we do that, let's cover some controls you're going to have bound. I'm not going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about what most people should have mapped before they get to do anything in DCS. So hopefully you can see this. You know what, OBS, let's show you the actual section here. There we go. My monitor is pretty wide, so OBS can't see it all. Anyways, this is the section here. And right now we're in the F-18. We have all but axis commands. And what that's meaning is everything in here is buttons, no axes. So don't map your rudder here. Don't map your elevator. That's all in the axis commands. This is everything but axis commands. So what we're going to need to do, what I recommend is, first of all, buying a HOTAS system. That's a hands-on throttle and stick. I really highly recommend the Moza AB6. I bought their Moza yoke. They sent me the Moza AB6, and I'm blown away by this thing, probably more than the yoke. It's very small in form factor, but it gets the job done, and it's really, really good on the force feedback. The Hornet doesn't have too much force feedback, kind of like the Airbus, but when you start flying the F-14 and those more stick and rudder birds, this thing is awesome. Helicopters is great with this too. So everything in the description, you guys can find the links for all that. But I'd get yourself a HOTAS, by the way, stands for hands-on throttle and stick. That's what HOTAS stands for. So get yourself a good stick with a bunch of buttons on it. Doesn't have to be this one, just one with a lot of buttons on it and a lot of hats, preferably. And then a throttle as well with a bunch of buttons on it. I recommend throttle-wise, you can either get the Moza MLP, but that's mainly a Hornet throttle. So if you want to be a Hornet main, go for it. But I'd recommend the Wing Control Orion base. With any grip you want that they sell, because it has a lot of buttons for various aircraft. So the Orion wing control base is very good. Been loving mine. Love the new set I made. Thank you so much, Simblitz. I appreciate you popping by. I love your content, by the way. So guys, be sure to go check out Simblitz's channel. He's actually a big inspiration on me as well. So feel free to go check him out. Great YouTuber. What's it saying? Throttle and stick. So yeah, get a stick and throttle with a bunch of buttons. Wing Control Orion 2 is the name of the throttle I'd recommend. The Moza AB6. If you can't afford this, you can get the Wing Control package. I think there's a bundle on sale right now for like $350. You get a stick and a throttle. It's based after the Hornet, and it's a really good deal. Very good product from Wing Control as well. There's a ton of stuff you guys can get out there. So we're gonna map the HOTAS, so the hands-on throttle and stick. You can go to this drop-down menu, go to HOTAS. This is everything that is on the stick and the throttle. Everything in here is on the stick and throttle. So you're going to need to basically map pretty much most of this. Not all of it, but pretty much most of it. So you guys can take a screenshot of this if you like. I won't go through everything because it'll probably bore you. But on the right-hand side here is where I have it mapped. And I'll show you what it actually is. Right there. So auto throttle, disengage switch, nose wheel steering. I have this on my stick personally. Cage uncage I have on my throttle personally. You can map this to the real Hornet and go, you know, 1-to-1, but I've been playing DCS for over 15 years with different hardware, and I kind of gotten set to where I like things to be, and I just keep it that way for all my airplanes, so it's just easier for me to transfer over to each one. But take a look at this. I would watch an actual mapping video, but that's how you get here. This is the HOTAS section, and we'll talk about which each one of these do, like the sensor controller, the throttle designator controller, the TDC as it's known. We'll talk about what they do once we're in the jet here. So we'll hop back in the jet, and we'll do a bit of a startup on it. It's weird how... Oh, never mind. I understand. Okay, put that back over there. Cool. So first things first, it's an airplane. Simblitz says, same goes to you, man. Love your content and streams. I need to learn DCS bad. Simblitz, man, let's go hop on a call, bro. We'll do it together. I'm down. I used to run a squadron a long time ago. It's called 16 AGR. We used to run training missions for about 8 years. I was one of the lead trainers there, actually. It was a lot of fun. One of the admins as well. The person that taught me, his name is Windy. He still plays DCS, and he's an ex Royal Air Force F-3 Tornado pilot. Used to fly and then flew triples after that. So everything I teach people in terms of the tactics and things, or everything he showed me. And obviously he didn't show me anything classified or anything, but just the basic stuff. But yeah, so we'll get into it. It's an airplane. You're going to need some sort of DC power. And in most American jets, you're going to find the DC batteries on the right for them, or sorry, Navy jets, you're going to find on the right, the electrical. So right here is the battery. You're just going to right click that to on. And then this is your DC power. This is your main, your emergency bus, basically, or essential bus, I should say. So anything that's essential to be powered by the battery is powered. You get some warning lights, and you get some gear indications. You get flap? No, I guess you can't move because there's no hydraulic anyways. You might even get, you probably get flap enunciations as well, and some engine instrumentation. That's about it. Well, now you need more power, right? So now you need an AC power. You can hook up a ground power cart, which does work in the sim, or you can hook up your turn on your APU. So it's just over here. The APU is quite loud. They have great sounds in DCS, by the way. So let me put the sounds up, and then you guys can witness a no sound pack free simulator that just has good sounds. A bit of fire out the back of the exhaust there. All right, we'll turn those back down. We'll hop in the cockpit. We're going to press left control C. That's going to close our canopy. That rhymes. You can also do it with the switch right here. But it's easier just to hit left control C than find the clicks button, all that. So do whatever you like there. All right, now the APU is online. You get the green light. The APU, unlike a lot of airliners that a lot of people are used to flying, it doesn't power a whole lot. There's actually no real AC gen to this. Like, for example, if I go to turn on some screens and stuff, you can see the brightness is all the way up and nothing is turning on. It doesn't really provide actually any AC power, the APU in the Hornet. What it mainly does is give you air to start the engine. So we're just going to start number 2 first. We'll get everything set up and then we'll start number 1. So we're going to hit this crank switch to the right. Before I do that, what you're going to notice is on over here in the engine display, your RPM on the right side is going to start counting up. And we're looking for a minimum of 15% RPM. I usually do 20, but a minimum of 15%, and then you add fuel, just like any air engine ever. So it's just like a CRJ if you're used to doing like that kind of style. I think I have to reverse my buttons. Okay, we'll leave them like that. But anyways, it should be in the full cutoff position right now as it is. So we're gonna right click this. Again, engine sounds outside. All right, 20% comes quick. We're going to add right throttle. The way to do that, if you don't have it mapped, is right shift home. That will bring the right thrust lever from cutoff to idle. And now we're adding fuel. You can see the fuel flow is going to start to rise as the fuel ignites and burns and explodes technically. A very controlled explosion. The temperature is going to be rising in that engine. And now you can see our AC power is kicking on. We have a total fuel. And then an internal fuel is a trivia question for you guys. Why do we have a total fuel and internal fuel, and why are they different? That'll be a trivia question for you guys, whoever's in chat. So with the right engine started, we can go ahead and actually start getting some of our systems online. So we'll get the OBOGs on. The OBOGs are onboard, let's see if I remember this, onboard oxygen generating system. And if you don't have this on, you will pass out above 20,000 feet. I think it is. There's a certain altitude where you just black out. You're just gone. So that's that. Next, we're going to do our FCS reset. Before we do this, let's go ahead and get our screens online. For you guys, this shouldn't be not there. Oh, that's weird. It's not working. Huh. Okay, well, that screen's already on. But anyways, for you guys, these knobs will start in the off position. You're going to go ahead and right-click them twice for day or night, whatever you need to do. This one down here, you can bring all the way up as well. The HUD brightness is right here. I can scroll it like this, and the HUD appears as so. Your volumes, you can crank those. Not really gonna do much unless you use simple radio. And then your brightness for the UFC, this is right here, the brightness for the UFC, controls how bright this whole section is. Seems like my buttons, oh, they are working. Yeah, okay. Anyways, there you go. So we'll turn that up. Awesome. This screen should be turning on. I'm thinking we had some, because this isn't working. Oh, there's some sound bugs going on. Because this is not working, I think it did not like me doing my little, it didn't like me doing my little fast shutdown thing. I'm going to fix this very, very quickly. Don't worry, we'll get back to this position very quick. Don't worry. We'll press this, and I'll, instead of making it hot, I'll make it from ramp. That makes it cold starting, and we'll resave that, respawn in the mission. I'll get it to the point that we were just at, and we'll get going again. I really hope my screens don't mess this up. It was working perfectly earlier. I don't know why it wouldn't be working now. Anyways, now we're back to cold and dark. So battery, APU, close the canopy. All right, same thing. The best way to learn this is actually repetition. So I would do about 2 startups a day, if not more, just to get in repetition of how to do it. Oh, it says live again. We're live again, my friend. That sounds good. It does sound good. Spool number 2. If you guys are just joining us, we did this portion of the startup earlier, so I'm just going to go past this part a little faster. All right. Right shift home brings the throttle up, adding fuel to the engine. That should be in the off position. Does this even work? No, this isn't working. Huh. That's strange. I'll have to take a look at that, of why that's not working. It seems like DCS just dumped all my bindings or something. But whatever. I'll just show you in the screen. That's okay. Alrighty, so the engine's online. The O-Bogs can come on. Get the roll F. Roll F. That's the Betty there. All right, we're gonna bring our screens online, so do this any way you'd like. You can click them. If you have a screen, you can turn them on like that. This screen down here will be turning on, and that screen over there will be turning on. Simworkshop was in charge of the math before the flight. Now everyone's screwed. No, you're fine. That's it. There we go. The buttons still don't work, but at least the screens work. So there you go. I'll have to do some technical support on my side later. I'm not going to bore you with that. So first things first, with the bit test here, I'm not going to do the bit test, but it goes through a bunch of stuff. I'm just going to press stop. You could do the very full procedure if you want, but in DCS, unless you set random system failures, nothing's going to fail. So I'm just going to press stop and not care about that. First things first, again, we'll get the brightness back up. All the brightnesses are good. The HUD one is here if you forgot. And then your brightness for your UFC is here. This is the upfront controller, the UFC. It's where the keyboard is. And that's it. We could do a lot of things like this. We have autopilot control, interrogate friend or foe, TACAN, ILS, data link, beacon, which is barely used, and then on off to toggle that stuff. So I can, we'll get to this later, but this all works. So we'll do that in a second. Anyways, back to where we were, and of course my mouse just says low battery now, but back to where we were in the earlier startup, the first one. We had battery, APU, and the engine running, and the O-Bogs. Turn our screen brightnesses on, which we just did, and now we're back to where we were. So we have to do an FCS reset. FCS is a flight control system reset. You can see if you don't do it, you'll have the flaps off, aileron off, all this stuff here. So we got to get an FCS warning. We got to get rid of that stuff. So first things first, make sure your flap is in the auto position all the way up. Alrighty. And then you can come behind your throttles, behind the fuel dump right here to FCS reset. You're just going to click and hold. And once you click and hold, 1, 2, 3, all your messages in terms of flight messages are gone. So we don't have the aileron off, all that stuff is gone, FCS is off, so we've cleared those away. After you've done this, I would set your flap to the half position. You can do this now or you can do this later, it's up to you. If you want to start your other engine and then do this, you can do this. That's probably the proper way to do it, but I'm going to do it now. Flap half, you can see half in green. And then we're going to set our takeoff trim. For ground-based takeoffs, we're just going to click this button. It says takeoff trim. And you can verify. You go menu, menu. You have 2 menus, by the way, tactical and support. Tactical, support. So go to support, either checklist or FCS, either one. And it's going to tell you your trim here is 12 degrees. That's our ground-based takeoff trim that we're going to use. In the carrier, it starts from 16 upwards to 19, depending on your takeoff weight. And I'll show you in the FCS page. Your trim looks like this over here in the FCS page. Right now we're G limited 5.7 G to all the munitions I have on board. Oh, sorry, Simblitz, you were talking about you handled the math. No, that was the trivia. Sorry, I just caught on. No, the reason is the total fuel accounts for the fuel tank, and that's an external fuel tank. So internally you have 10,800, and externally you have 13.1 if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 13.1, at least that's what it was. Alrighty, so 12 degrees of trim has been set. You're good to go on that front. Next thing we're going to do is I'm going to hop over to this screen. I'm going to get rid of the joystick. Backspace or clicking it gets rid of it. And I'm firstly just going to take care of this map. I hate seeing the map. So the way to get rid of it is you click... Oh, interesting. That screen just died. You click mode and then map. And that gets rid of it. I'm going to move my mouse back maybe down to here. I don't think it liked me doing whatever I was doing. So that screen is just dead. Don't mind me, guys. Although that feels pretty bad. Anyways. Back to day, please. Wait, did this work now? Oh, this works now. Okay. These buttons work again. These buttons work? These buttons work again, too. DCS, everybody. I don't know. Let's put that back there. Where was I? I was doing something kind of important. Yes, down here. So, I just tried to take the map away just so you can actually read the numbers. Now we're going to align our INS. We don't have an IRS in this airplane. We have an INS. Same idea. If you guys don't know what an INS or IRS is, it's a gyroscope. The gyroscopes in the aircraft. Most modern airliners have 3 of them, and they're IRSs. And they're laser gyroscopes. On this aircraft, they're INSs. I believe they're more mechanical. And basically what it is, it's a spinning disc. And through time and acceleration, it can predict at least, where it thinks you are. So it's almost like hitting a stopwatch, knowing something's at a certain speed, hitting your stopwatch, and you're like, okay, it's probably around there. Right? That's what the INS does. That's what IRSs do as well. This aircraft, thankfully, has a GPS. So as that is predicting where we are, the GPS is updating it and saying, actually you're here along your route, and all the navigation stays good. But we still have to align it to our current position. So the INS is right here. You can right click twice to ground, CV for the carrier. While you're here, radar can go to operational. Because Waiter on wheels is not actually going to use the radar, but we'll just put it to operational. Next, this is our time to align. I do not want to wait 8 minutes, so I'm going to select stored heading right here. And what this is simulating is this airplane's been parked overnight, and it's the same coordinates. It hasn't moved since yesterday. So it's going to do a fast align, basically. And it'll take a lot less time, doing it this way. I'm going to attempt to plug in my mouse because it's going to die soon. And I really hope this doesn't screw anything up. DCS is a very finicky sim. You got to be very careful in DCS when you play it. But it seemed like it liked that. Okay, that would have crashed the sim 4 years ago. So good job, Eagle Dynamics. You've gotten a lot better at that. So this alignment is just going to start counting on down. Symbol says, that's sick. If you run out of weapons, does the tank become droppable? You can drop the anything. You can drop anything at any time. The only thing you can't drop are wing-mounted pylons. So you can't drop your wingtip AIM-9s. And you won't be able to drop a targeting pod ever. But these are all droppable. Fuel tanks are all droppable. And the way you do that is with selective jettison. There's 2 ways to drop. There's selective jettison. So I can tell it I want the center pylon, the right inner, the right outer. Or there's the emergency jettison that just ditches everything possible. Whatever it can ditch, it's going to ditch. That's the emergency jettison there. So if you get merged in a dogfight and you're in a full air-to-ground loadout and you're merged with a MiG-21, you're going to be clicking that button unless you have an AIM-9X or, you know, other situations happen where you don't need to do it. But if it's you versus that guy, you probably have to do it. So now you can see quality 0.5 okay, which means our alignment is good. And what we're going to do is come back here. A lot of people set it to nav, but that's used to be correct. But now you actually go to IFA. And IFA stands for in-flight alignment. And that means the GPS is going to constantly be updating that INS, is what we were talking about earlier. So we're all good to go there. All right, moving below the center DDI. Some people, I think that this one's actually an MCDU, a or MFCD, multi-function color display. It should be acronyms. Basically, this one has color, and the other ones don't. They're just green and black. This one has color, and that's it. So that's it. That's the difference between the bottom and the left and right. So the lefts and rights are the same DDI. The bottom's an MFCD, or a multi-function color display, whatever they want to call it. There's different terms for it, but this one has color. Long story short, just below that, there's 4 squares in a row here. I'll zoom in on them. or 5 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. ALR 67 power. This is your radar warning receiver. We're going to click it on. You're going to hear some beepity boops. And our little radar warning receiver gets turned on. What this instrument is, there's a bunch of sensors basically all over the aircraft. And if it senses a certain radar signature, or energy, I should say, certain radars on certain aircraft and surface-to-air missiles have a certain radar energy signature. And it can detect through the signatures in its memory banks and tell you what is seeing you, what is locking you, and what is shot at you. It's a very good system. Now, because it's in honestly one of the worst positions ever to have a radar warning receiver down there while you're flying looking out here, the F-18 has a really good feature where you could do it on any screen, whatever screen you want. We'll go to this screen. We're going to press menu. Then we're going to press EW, just right of menu. It's B4. And then we're going to click HUD on the bottom right. There's R4, or R4. HUD. And now we have this information displayed in our HUD. You can see that we have an E3 on the left-hand side of us and an E3 to the right-hand side of us. An E3 is a friendly, or usually friendly, AWACS system. It looks like this. That's an E3 right there, a ginormous radar dish. So that's what that's doing. The F-18 uses the INS. It does. It does. Yeah, a lot of jets, of military jets, use INS over IRS. The F-14 is INS, the F-4 is INS, the Viggen's INS, the Viper's INS, the Apache is INS. They all have INSs. Alrighty, so that's been taken care of. More on the radar warning receiver later, but basically in the middle is you. 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4, or what did I even say? 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock. I just started counting. This does not give you any range information. However, there is formulas to figure out, for example, how long, like if I just sat here and this E3 is flying, as it moves across the screen, there's ways to figure out, and I don't know those ways, but there's ways to figure out its range just from how much it moves, how many tick marks it moves in a certain amount of time. We're not going to do that here. Next below here, we just turned that system on, which, by the way, you have more controls. You can, we'll talk about these later, but you have more controls with the RWR, but that's basically all you need for right now. Below that's your ECM, your electric countermeasure, your electronic countermeasure. Basically a jammer is what it's used for. And jammers in DCS are not quite modeled correctly. The jammers are one of those touchy subjects that they can't model all too realistically for worrying of lawsuits and things like that. So it basically, all it does in DCS is it's kind of gamey. Like if a SAM would originally kill you from 20 miles, it'll lock you at like half the distance, and that's kind of it. I always just throw it in standby, have it warmed up and ready to go, and we'll keep it there for now. Dispenser switch over here, this controls your chaff and flare. You have 3 modes: off, on, and bypass. I'm going to tell you right now, I use bypass 99% of the time, but what you can do in on mode is, in on mode you can set up certain profiles. So every time, let's say every time you hit your flare button, I want 5 flares to come out. I'll tell my profile that for every flare button I want 5 flares, and then the profile will do that. In bypass, 1 flare, me pressing my flare is 1 flare. Me pressing my chaff is 1 chaff. And that's the way I like it. Nice and simple. You only have 60 of each from memory, so that's not a lot in terms of other jets carry a lot more. So you want to be kind of sparing with how much chaff flare you use. Alrighty, so that's all been done there. Let's move on the right-hand side again. We'll just get this radar altimeter here. We're just going to move it. You're going to hear the beep boop. We'll set it to 200 feet. We'll just have there ready to go. All right, and then lastly, we can uncage our standby artificial horizon, but just scrolling down. Altimeter setting can be set here. This affects your HUD as well. It's always default in most servers. A way to check, if you don't know, is left Alt B. Bravo, that is. It'll bring you to a briefing menu. You can scroll all the way down, and you'll get the altimeter right there. 2992. It's standard. It usually is. The weather in DCS is very badly modeled, in my opinion. So it's time to start the next engine. Let's come back over here. Same process. Crank the left. We'll left click for left, right click for right. And now the RPM is coming on up. 15% is the minimum. We're going to go ahead and add fuel. For left engine, I believe it's right shift, right control home, or right shift, right alt home. One of those. But you can map them as well. I solo IRL Monday, hopefully. Hey, Owen, well, congrats on that. Hope you do well. Just be calm, do what you've been told to do, and do not forget any of your licenses at home. Or else your solo is not going to be much of a solo. You'll have fun. You'll have a good time. Alrighty, so that's all been done. Lastly, we're going to come back up to this upfront controller here, and we're going to set up a few things. So, I'll zoom out on this. We're going to go from left to right. Autopilot, I don't need just yet. And I'm looking here, by the way. IFF, we're going to turn this on. IFF stands for Interrogate Friend or Foe. We're going to click IFF once, and you're going to click on right on the right-hand side here, over there. And you'll get XP. And again, in DCS, this is all you need to do. It's not modeled to real life, as realistic IFF is pretty much secretive material they don't want you modeling. Now, just so this panel looks a little bit nicer, I'm going to actually quickly turn on some lighting. There we go. That looks cool. APU has auto shut off. Do not need to shut off the APU manually. Once the gens and everything's online and it's all been working for a while, the APU just auto shuts off. So we've done the IFF. Now we're going to do our data link. You have 2 data links. So I can keep cycling between the 2. We want data link on 127. So click it twice and then press on. And you're going to get on 127. And that's your data link between you and other aircraft. This data link, if I turn it on, we'll say 336. This data link is for carrier approaches, automatic carrier landings and stuff like that. Don't really need this, so I'm just going to turn it off for right now. We'll keep data link 127 online. That's the one we're going to keep for right now. And what this does for us now, if we go to any of the screens, we can go to the left screen, doesn't really matter, but go to your tactical menu by just clicking the menu button again. And we're going to click the SA page. That stands for Situational Awareness. It was R3. And we don't see anything just yet, but if I go ahead and expand the scale, it's T3. So this is T for top, R for right, B for bottom, and then L for left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So T3. Should have explained that earlier. We're changing the scale. I actually don't see anything. It might be too far. But what you would see on the screen if there is a lot of targets around and stuff is anything that the E3 or other Hornets see, aircraft that are data linked to you, will actually display friendlies and bad guys right on this screen. It's actually very, very cool. It's a really, really neat system. We'll come back to that a little bit later. We'll press menu. We can press menu again. We'll set up on our HSI, just so you have a heading indicator type deal going on over there. And then on the right-hand side, we can just set up, honestly, it doesn't really matter for the takeoff. We can put HUD, just have a backup HUD just in case it fails. But you're basically ready to taxi. All you got to do is arm your ejection seat, just like that, and then turn your park and brake off. You're good to go. You'll know you have nose-wheel steering because it'll say NWS, which is nose-wheel steering. We have 3 different modes for nose-wheel steering. You have off, which is A by default to turn it off. Then you have nose-wheel steering, which is S by default to turn it on. I have it mapped to my joystick, of course, which is how it is in real life. And then if you hold S, or whatever your nose-wheel steering button is, you have nose-wheel steering high mode. And this mode is mainly used for the carrier deck, and you're able to really turn this aircraft around. There's a secret mode. You don't have to hold high mode if you unlock your wing. Now, if I press high, which is S, it stays on. I don't have to hold it. And again, that's mainly for the carrier deck stuff. So we'll leave it in nose-wheel steering, and that means my rudder is steering my tire there, the nose gear. Hope you guys are enjoying this stuff. If you enjoy this kind of content, please do leave a like, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. We're gonna add a little bit of power. If I add right rudder, the airplane turns right. Left rudder, the airplane turns left. And if I want to do a really tight turn, I can hold S or whatever nose-wheel steering button you have, and I can do a really, really tight turn. Very, very tight turn with the Hornet. It's meant to go on a carrier deck, so that's what it's meant to do. All right, we're just going to taxi on out. I'll talk about the missiles in the air. I have all 3 different types of air-to-air missiles on board that the aircraft does carry. We have a heat-seeking missile, a semi-active radar-guided missile, and an active radar-guided missile. And we're going to talk about the 2 different ones in a second. Oop, my phone going off. Really appreciate you guys being here as well. Hopefully you're enjoying it so far. I'm going to turn my track IR on so I can look around. If you guys play DCS at all or want to get into it, I highly recommend getting head tracking. Doesn't have to be track IR. It can be Tobii Eye Tracker, which we have a discount code if you want it. You can be VR, Pimax, discount code for that as well. Okay, I'll stop talking. But anything head tracking wise, you're going to want to get. So Pimax VR is great. I've never used it, but I've heard very good things about the Big Screen Beyond VR. And then Quest 3 is a good entry-level VR to get into. In 2D options, Track IR, as I already said, Tobii Eye Tracker, BMI Tracker, and then the one of the most free ones, I think it's called Open Track. It's like $6, I think, for the software, and then you just need a webcam or a phone, and then you can use it. But the reason this is so important, kind of we'll get involved with it later of why it's so important, but formation flying, air refueling, circuits, dogfighting, all needs vision. You all need to be able to move your head around and find what you're looking at. VR, in my opinion, is still the best, and I'm very not used to playing DCS without VR, so bear with me. But, because VR offers so much depth perception. Are we going the right way? Yeah, we are. It's a long taxi. Let's speed up a little bit here. But if you can't afford VR, if your PC can't run VR, Track IR is my go-to. That's the best one that I have found. I've tested them all. I've tested Tobii, I've tested OpenTrack, I've tested Track IR, I've used Track IR for years. Track IR of the 2D options is still my my definite go-to. So we're just steering with the rudder pedals here. Loving this. I've got about one, got to shoot out for a bit. I've been lurking and back in a few, maybe. Okay, sounds good. So let's hope you're back by the air-to-air prime. That'd be kind of cool. Glad you enjoyed. Thanks for stopping by. Again, if you don't have any head tracking, you can double-click your mouse wheel, and that will become your little head tracker or your little moving of the mouse. You can bind that to something else like right click if you want to, but right clicks are used in the flight deck, unlike Microsoft, so I would keep right click open. The next thing you can do is use a hat switch on your joystick. That's kind of the classic way to do that as well. All right, guys. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to fly southbound, and we're going to spawn some targets in the air. I'm not going to spawn the targets just yet, but we're going to talk about some air-to-air theory a little bit, and we're going to talk about different types of missiles, and we'll talk about the radar, and then I'll spawn the targets. Just running to grab some KFE. Should be back in time. Awesome. That's great, man. I hope you enjoy. KFC and DCS. That sounds like a pretty freaking good night. And again, this is a private server, a private mission. I can post this mission in my Discord if you guys want access to it. I feel like there's like some shimmering going on. I think I know what it is, but I'm not going to fix it now. Maybe I am going to fix it now. I just want to see something real quick. Really quickly. V-Sync's off. Okay, what I think it is... I think my monitor cable got a little unplugged and we're not actually at my hertz that I'm supposed to be at right now. And yes, we're taxiing into the grass very slowly. Okay, go the right way. There we go. $120, $240. Please don't break anything. It broke everything. No. Okay. Jeez. Okay. We're going to quit. And I'm going to just do this. I'm going to make this guy start on the runway. I'm going to save the mission. I'm going to close the game, reopen the game, and we should be back in business. I'm sorry about that, but I do not want all that flickering on the screen as we're going. So Simblets, go get your KFC. This is a perfect time for you. And we'll be back in short order. If you guys have any questions so far, what hardware to buy, that kind of stuff, feel free to leave it in the comments. I'll answer. If you guys want Discord or someone to fly with DCS with you, let me know as well, as I have a dedicated Discord just to DCS, which I don't really publicize all that much. But if you're looking for help or training or whatever like that, one-on-one type stuff, we can do that as well. Need some elevator music or something. But we'll spawn on the runway with everything started. We didn't really go too crazy anyways. You'll get so quick at that startup, you'll be able to do it in like 10 seconds. It really will become a 3-minute startup or less for you. The Hornet's meant to be an easy aircraft to fly. This isn't looking promising. Oh, okay, it went away. Awesome. Mission editor, open this one. Owen says, I got 3 monitors with track error. Sorry, let me just start the mission. Fly. Yes. I also got VR. What do you recommend? I mainly decide on 3 monitors because of being able to see all the panels without pass-through. Yeah, having all of that, I still prefer VR. I do like this as well. It's kind of, I guess I'd play it by ear. I would probably just be like, you know, if you don't feel like getting a VR that day, don't get VR in that day since you already have all of them. I prefer VR, but I recommend learning in 2D first, and then after a good few months where you're very confident with the airplane, that's when I get in VR. It's kind of harder to learn in VR, in my opinion. All right, there we go. No more of that stuff happening. So I'm gonna go ahead and pause my track AR right about there. We'll zoom on in. And we'll just set up, make sure everything, anytime you do a hot start, guys, some stuff might not be set. So data link twice, on, IFF, on, oh, that one's already on. Moving down here, get rid of this, dispenser bypass to bypass, jammer can stay on and receive, that's fine. And we'll click our map away. And that's basically all that we have to do from a hot start. Everything else should be done for us. I'll check the flap, just make sure this is matching, flap half. 12 degrees, so we're basically where we were. I'm just going to put the HSI back up on this side, and I'm going to put the SA page up on that, or I guess I'll do that. Let's put the SA page up regardless, and we'll just put the HUD. That's fine. Alrighty, guys, so if you guys are ready to go, we're all loaded up still, and we're ready to launch off. The Hornet, I've been told by multiple people either online and YouTube videos that you don't really rotate, you don't pull the stick back. I've never had that experience. I've always had to pull back unless the airplane is like just taking off at 100 million knots. But technically with 12-degree trim, you should need very little pullback, if anything. So we'll just do a full burner takeoff. That's the fun one to do. Real quick, I do want to talk about one thing. If you're ever going to get a throttle for DCS, make sure, I should have mentioned this earlier, but make sure it's a throttle with detents. First of all, you want a detent for idle, and you want a detent for military power. Military power is 100% power without afterburner. After that, you have afterburner, but you want to make sure your throttle actually has a stop and then a push through. The Moza I'm using has it. The wing control Orion and most of the wing control gear all have it as well. Just make sure it has that. The Thrustmaster Warthog doesn't really have one. It has one for cutoff and it has one for burner, but you actually have to physically lift and move over, and it's a pain. You want to make sure it's a nice push through for the burner. The wing control and the Moza both do that. So look for throttles like that. So you could do a military power takeoff, or you could do a burner takeoff. We'll just do full burn because it's cool and it looks awesome. So let's go. Let's give you guys a cool view here. That's the right way to do that. Yes, it is. I'm gonna move myself over here. This is kind of like spectator free mode. It's a little annoying to get right. If you guys are ready, we'll run up the engines. Full burner. And away we go. Rudder controls for center line. They're very sensitive, so be kind. 130, I'm going to start pulling back nice and gently. With positive rate, we're going to grab our gear up. That's G by default. And flaps to 0. That quickly, guys. Gear up, flaps to 0. That's just our radar altimeter. Alright, we're going to accelerate to about 350 knots, and then I'm going to bring the power back to military power. There it is. And now, guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pitch for 350. Let me pause for a second. We're going to climb this aircraft just like any airplane. If you want to be nice and fuel efficient, this is what I recommend doing. Again, this is from my buddy who taught me a while ago. Most jets, fighter-wise, not all, but most of them like 350 knots, and then a transition to 0.75, 0.77. The Viper's probably a little quicker. But what we're going to do is I'm going to keep this nose pitched up as much as it needs to be. I'm in military power, so I'm 100% power, but our afterburner is out. All right. We're currently getting 11,000 feet per minute. And yes, we are getting 11,000 feet per minute. And what I'm going to do is as we get to 350, I'm going to look for a decelerating, accelerating, or neutral trend on the speed. If we're accelerating, I'm going to pitch up to hold 350. And if I'm decelerating, I'm going to pitch down to hold 350. And if I'm neutral, I'm not going to do anything. Looking at this, I'm probably gonna have to pitch down normally around at this altitude about 14 degrees, and then as we get higher it gets lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. So I'm gonna go ahead and pitch down. You can watch the speed if I don't pitch down. Notice it's decelerating. The speed is right here, 350. Let's go ahead and pitch down nice and gently. All right, now we're gonna look for a trend. Is it neutral? Nope, still decelerating. So let's just go pitch down a little bit more. As I said, it's around 14-ish, so we'll go to 12 to 13 to grab the speed back. I'm just trimming a little bit. 346, 347. It's close enough for government work. So basically what we've effectively done is we've pitched for 350. I want to make something clear that I'm not obviously a lead of a formation. If you're a lead in the formation, you cannot go military power unless you give the guy a little bit of time to adjust, because if I go military power, the guy flying formation on me has to go burner, right? There's nowhere else for him to go burner. Also, as a lead, I can't go idle. If I need to descend, I need to go 20% power and spoilers, because again, if I go idle, the other person has to go idle and speed brakes, right? So it gets a little messy to hold formation. So those are some lead considerations if you're ever doing that. But because I'm alone, I'm just going to go 100% mil power, and we're going to go pitch for 350. It's a very efficient way to get to 350, or to hold a climb. I predict we're still at 13,000 pounds of fuel. I predict when we get to cruise, we'll be at like 12,200. We won't burn all that much. If you climb it properly, you'll have fuel for at least 2 to 3 hours. And if you do things properly, if you don't fly it properly, or if you're a little more lenient in the burner, if you get merged earlier, you need to lose a lot of fuel early on, you're gonna have a lot less time, obviously. So the lower you stay, and the higher thrust settings, the more fuel you're burning. Take note right now as we're climbing, we're burning 7,600 pounds. That's the middle number per engine. So that's 14,000 pounds an hour of fuel. As we climb up and hold this pitch, actually we gotta pitch down a little bit. As we climb up, you're gonna notice that fuel flow per hour come down, and that's what we want. Now, sometimes the mission doesn't allow you that for happen. For example, a lot of long-range, high-altitude SAMs will restrict how high you can climb. Other fighters, stuff like that. But in a mission like this, with the threat level low, we can afford to do this. So I'm just going to come to a right turn heading of roughly 170 or so. I agree. Feel like I need to learn my sim to where there's before I go trying 100%. That's sick. Later on we can see air-to-air refuel. Yeah, man, we can do that for sure. The trick to air-to-air refuel in the Hornet especially is less is more. Alrighty, so we're on a heading of 170. We're passing through 21,000 feet. I haven't changed my thrust. It's been mill power. Now we're down to 7, so we've gained 600 pounds per side. So almost over 1,000 pounds in fuel saving. Gotta do a better job with my climb though. I'm gonna cage the HUD. Use cage button, and that's gonna bring the HUD to dead center. If it's uncaged, it goes with the wind. Caged, it goes dead center. So cage button is C by default if you want it. All right, let's talk about some autopilot usage. Right here's your autopilot, AP. We can click AP, and you have some modes here, and there's one missing, and I'll talk about that in a different video. That's coupled, basically LNAV. You need a waypoint to go to. I can show you actually in a second. Anyways, we have attitude heading hold, which is the top one. And that's the mode I'm going to select right now. And what that's going to do is that's going to hold my attitude, and it should be holding my heading. But let me go ahead and disengage the autopilot, roll it level, and click it again. All right, there we go. So we have attitude heading hold, heading select, barometric altitude hold, and radar altimeter altitude hold. This is only used basically when you're level. There's no altitude select, it's just whenever you're level. There's also auto throttle, which is Tango T by default, and it'll show up on the right side of the HUD if it actuates here. Can't get to actuate, but it'll say auto throttle. Oh, there it goes. But it should stop blinking. It should just be on. There we go. Nope, it's gone. I probably moved. It's probably the Moza is vibrating and it's kicking it off. But anyways, I should mention that we're not worrying about that anymore, and we're worrying about Mach. Usually 0.75 is a little more efficient. We'll climb at 0.8. If I wanted 0.75, I'd pitch up a little bit more, but that's fine. That's fine right there. So, attitude heading hold, heading select, barometric altitude hold, radar altimeter altitude hold, and then the last one is coupled. For example, if I wanted to fly right back to home base is waypoint 0, I can select waypoint, and now you get a function that's come up. It's called coupled. If I were to click this, the airplane's going to turn to the right. Right? Coupled, like LNAV. Boop, we're going to turn that off. We're going to go back straight, and we'll put it to attitude heading. But that's like LNAV mode, basically. It's coupled mode. Alright, that's what that does. We'll unselect that. We're back to normal. Put the SA page up here. There's actually two ways to get the SA page, by the way, guys. So if you're let's say in the HSI like this, or actually we already were in the SA, but anyways, if you're on the HSI page, you can hit your sensor control left. Sensor controller is one of the HOTAS commands you're going to need. It's in the HOTAS key binding we talked about. So HOTAS sensor controller left once, you get the diamond. We'll talk about what this means in a second. Click it again. You're on the SA page. Click it again. HSI. Click it again. SA page. Click it again. HSI, and it just goes between. So every screen has their thing. That's kind of how that works. If I hit sensor controller right a bunch of times, the radar comes up. That's kind of how that works. So, I didn't want to actually bring that up just yet. I'm going to hide that for right now. Well, it's going to go ahead and level off. I can either bring the nose down level manually, or I can just click B Alt, and the airplane is going to level off. It's a little aggressive, but we'll do that. I'm going to give it a right turn. I'm going to turn along this mountain line here. So what we're going to do is you can right click and hold this. I'm going to use my little button here. Alrighty, and now that I've held it for a little bit, you can see heading select has appeared. I'm going to click heading select, and then I'm going to click a heading. Let's say we're 180, so that would be roughly a heading of west. So let's type in 250, enter, autopilot, heading select. All right, and the airplane turns to the right. Now, one thing I've missed and didn't show you guys yet, and I kind of was going to hold off till later, but this airplane does have a helmet-mounted display unit, the HMD, and it looks like this. Really cool stuff. So now you get heading at the top. It's basically a HUD on your head anywhere you look. Very, very cool stuff here. And it's very useful during dogfights especially, but even some BVR times as well, and just situational awareness in general, even air to ground too. So we'll just scroll that up. You can, there's a way to align it. I never find I need to be honest, but you can align the HMD with over here and align, but we'll skip that for today. All right, let's talk about the missiles we have on board, and then we're going to spawn some, or do some radar theory and spawn some stuff. If anyone has any questions, you can ask them now. I'm going to take a quick drink of water before we get into it. Give my voice a little bit of a break. Oh, drop that. Oops. Anyways, well, let's get into it. Don't really see anything going on, so we'll talk about it. On the airplane here, let's bring the volume down a little bit. On the airplane here, we have 3 different types of missiles. We have the AIM-7 Sparrow, which is the fattest looking ones right there. Next to it are a bipod rack of 2 AIM-120C Charlie missiles, and we'll talk about what each one does. And then lastly, we have the AIM-9 on the wingtip right here. So, AIM-9, AIM-120, oops, and AIM-7. 7, 120, 9. The 9s are the only missile that can live on the wingtip. The 9s can also be put on the wings as well, or the wing roots, but the 9 are the only thing that can live in here missile-wise. So that's that. Make sure we're not doing anything dumb here. We're getting a little slow. Fire back up. All right, we'll talk about the 9s first, then we'll talk about the Sparrow, and then we'll talk about the AIM-120. Give you guys a bit less sound. Perfect, just so it's not blaring in your ears like for me it is. Okay, so the AIM-9 is it's a Sidewinder missile is what it's called. There's different variants of it. This variant we have right now is called the M, the Mike variant, which is, it used to be the best until the X came out. I think the X, AIM-9X got introduced around the 2010s, I think. I could be completely wrong about that, but the X is the newest variant that offers thrust vectoring and a bunch of really advanced features. The X is in DCS. I just did not select it in the sim, but the 9X is in DCS, and it is a very, very good missile. The Hornet does carry. The AIM-9 is a heat-seeking missile, so it's an infrared missile. It tracks the exhausts of airplanes, basically, or just heat sources, technically, not of airplanes, but just any heat source. This missile that you're looking at, the AIM-9, will actually lock onto the sun, which I can't even find. There it is, right above me. So that's actually a good little dogfight trick. That works in DCS. If you're getting merged and someone's trying to, you know, shoot you down with a missile, point yourself in the sun. 1, you might blind them, and 2, the missile, depending on which missile variant they have, will actually track the sun and get screwed over. So that's a valid trick there. These missiles are called Fox 2s. So if you ever hear someone say Fox 2, that means they've shot a heat-seeking missile. Not technically an AIM-9. It could be any heat-seeking missile variant. So, for example, a Russian R-27 ET is still a Fox 2. A Magic on the Mirage 2000 is still a Fox 2. An AIM-9 is a heat-seeking missile, so it goes under the Fox 2 clarification. Fox 2 is a heat-seeking IR-guided missile. Fun fact, the F-18 has a radar warning receiver, as we talked about, and will warn you about radar missiles that have been shot at you. But it does not have an MWS, or a missile warning system. The A-10 has one, and the Apache has one on the Blue 14. But it doesn't have a system of IR sensors all over the airplane telling you of missile heat detection launches. So what I'm trying to get at is, if someone's behind you and not using their radar, and just shoots this missile at you, well, first let me back up. If someone's behind you and shoots this missile at you, you're never gonna get a warning that this missile's been launched and is coming towards you. Even if the person is using their radar and locks you with their radar, and they shoot this missile, it'll just say locked. You're never gonna get the missile launch tone for a heat-seeking missile in the F-18, the Viper, the F-14, I believe the F-15C. The American jets, for the most part, air-to-air variants, do not put MWS missile warning systems in most of their fighters. So again, if you get launched on from a missile that does not require a radar lock, like the AIM-9, the AIM-9 does not require radar. It just locks IR. It tracks the heat and it comes and kills you. You will not get a warning that that missile has been launched on you. So it adds for some interesting tactics in the mountains and things you can think about. So that's an AIM-9. You want to use them close range, max range if your nose hot. So we'll talk about what hot cold is, but hot is coming straight at you like this. Cold is the guys running away, and then flanking is they're in a turn, they're flanked. So if they're hot, the guy's coming right at you, you can go ahead and launch that missile probably a mic from 4 to 5 miles with reasonable confidence, depending on altitudes and speeds and things. And then AIM-9X with a hot kill, the longest I got was 9.2, believe it or not, which is pretty incredible for a short-range missile as the AIM-9 is supposed to be. When they're cold, because they're going fast this way, the missile has to catch up to them. It's a lot less range. You get a lot more range to shoot a missile from a guy like this rather than this, because the missile has to fly up the guy's tailpipe and catch him up. So an AIM-9 mic cold, probably depending on their speed, 1 to 2 miles maybe at best, depending on what you're shooting at. If it's a Hornet and full burner at Mach 1, probably 1 mile or a little bit, maybe a little bit more. So it depends on what the airplane is doing that you're shooting. That all depends on your range. How high were you when you shot it, right? How low, how high, how fast, how slow. That all affects range of missiles, all missiles, not just the AIM-9. Mr. Aviation Bros, hello, welcome, thanks for stopping by. Oh, it says, do you have to buy or unlock the missiles? No, there's none of that. You just buy the aircraft and that's it. It's not like War Thunder or anything like that. The next thing we're talking about is the Fox 1, which is the semi-active radar-guided AIM-7 missile. That's the one on the belly right here, these two in the belly. The AIM-7 is the older version of the radar missiles that we have. The AIM-7, I believe we have the mics on board as well, actually, maybe the mic hotels. The AIM-7 is a semi-active radar-guided missile, Fox 1, which means that it requires a radar lock, and it requires what's known as a single target track lock. So just picture a radar putting a bunch of energy all over the sky, right? And when you find someone, you have to center all the radar's energy on that one guy, and one guy only, and your radar stops scanning for anything else. It just scans that one thing. And when you shoot the missile, you need to maintain radar lock the entire way of that missile's flight. If you lose lock, the missile goes somewhere else. Maybe it might hit if the target never moved and it's on its last trajectory, but more or less the target's usually maneuvering. So if you lose lock, the AIM-7 goes dead. It's trashed, as they say. So on a semi-active radar missile, all semi-active radar-guided missiles, the R-27 ER, the AIM-7, as we talked about, the R-3R, I believe, is the MiG-21 carries that one. They're all semi-active. They're all Fox 1s. They need to maintain a radar lock the entire time. The good news about being fired upon with this missile is you'll get a radar lock notification and you'll get a radar missile launch notification of what's shooting at you. You won't know if it's an AIM-120 or an AIM-7 coming at you, but you will get a launch warning for this missile in all Gen 4 American fighters. So that's that. So if you lose lock, you lose the shot. The missile's dead. All right, that's a Fox 1. We'll use all 3 missiles today. The last one is the AIM-120. Those are the narrow tip ones here. They're more of a medium range, not really long, but they're medium range missiles. I should talk about them. Back up to the Sparrow. The Sparrow, a hot shot you might be able to get on a non-maneuvering like bomber, 25 miles. Fighter at 20 miles, maybe if they're not maneuvering too much, but they're going to start defensive, so it's kind of a waste of a shot. You're going to use the Sparrows more likely inside the 12 to 5 mile range, kind of in there. And what the Sparrow is actually better, the AIM-7, sorry, back to this guy. What the Sparrow is better at doing than the AIM-120 and the AIM-9 is it's very good into shooting into a furball or into a merge. If you got a bunch of friendlies and enemies all mixed together dogfighting and stuff, the AIM-9 heat seeker might track the friendly's engine, right? Could do that. The AIM-120 well, I'll talk about it later, but might track a friendly as well. Whereas the AIM-7, you have radar lock on that one guy, and it's going to that guy that you've identified as hostile, and it's going to go and kill him. So that's where an AIM-7 is actually useful, as an emerge in a dogfight, furballs type situation with a lot of friendlies mixed in. Other than that, you're going to want to take 120s pretty much 99% of the time. The reason the AIM-120 is so good, and that's this missile here we're talking about now, this is an active radar missile. So we have heat-seeking, semi-active, and radar-active missile. Radar, or the active missiles are, they start off, well, they don't have to, but basically what happens is there's a radar actually inside the missile. So there's various ways you can use this, but let's say you're 40 miles away from somebody. You get a lock, and this time, because it's an AIM-120, it does not have to be all the radar's energy anymore. And I'll show you what it's called. It's called track wall scan. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But anyways, you shoot your missile off with the AIM-120, and then it becomes a certain point. The guy's, you know, maneuvering, whatever. There comes a certain point where the missile goes pitbull, or it goes active, which means it's gotten close enough and has actually been able to use its own missile's radar in the nose here to find the guy you were looking at, or hopefully looking at, track and kill him. So once the missile goes pitbull or active, even if you die and explode or turn away or lose lock or whatever, that missile's still going to go and hunt him down. So it becomes a fire and forget. If you shoot this missile inside about 12-ish miles, maybe about 8 miles, it's pretty much fire and forget off the rail. But at 40-mile shot, it takes some time for the missile to see the bandit and actually kill him. The closer you get, the faster the missile's radar can see the bad guy. So Fox 1, Fox 2 is the Sparrow, Fox 3 is the AMRAAM, or the AIM-120. And we have the Charlie variant. In DCS, you have Charlie and Bravo. The Bravo is less range and just all around crappier, and the Charlie is the best range, best maneuverability, and just the best one to use. So the AIM-120 is usually the one that most people take, and it's the one I'm going to take 99% of the time as well. But now we'll go ahead and talk about some radar stuff, and then we'll get into actually shooting them. So if you guys have any questions, again, please feel free to let me know right now. That's it. Would DCS be good for stick-only setup? 100%. Depending on the stick you have, 100%. Depending on what stick you have. Need more water. Need a flight attendant. Anyways, let's continue. We talk about some radar theory. First things first, we'll use the Sparrow first. So on your HOTAS commands, you should have mapped select AMRAAM, select. Here, I can show you actually. Maybe I can't show you because of the screen, but there's different ones called in the HOTAS control section. Select AMRAAM, select Sparrow, select Sidewinder, select gun. So I can toggle that with my throttle. So select AMRAAM, select Sidewinder, select gun, select Sparrow, right? And I can toggle that just with a push of a button on my throttle. I can make the airplane go crazy. Sidewinder, gun, AMRAAM, I'm just making it go nuts, right? We're going to select the AIM-7. We have 7M2. It's crossed out with loft. The cross is because the master arm is off. Master arm on. Cross is away. Good to shoot. Loft means the missile, once you shoot it, if there's enough range, is going to come off the rail and go up and then dive on its target. I like to shoot these within 10 miles, so I normally turn loft mode off. So go to your left-hand screen, click mode, click norm. That's it. Size on the left, I normally target fighters, so I usually set it to small. And that's usually like a MiG-21 would be considered a small fighter. The 21 is tiny. Depending on the server you're playing in, might need medium, might need large, depending if you're going after like an AWACS or something. But 99% of the time, I'm going after something small. So I'm going to keep it on small. Lastly, we're going to change the bottom here to 7 mic, the very bottom left here. Is DCS easy to set up and install? Set up and install, depending on your hardware, yes. Learning is a giant learning curve, so I'm hoping to help that with this video here. But yeah, it's relatively easy to install. Notice how much fuel we're using. We're barely burning anything here. I think we might have we might even have unlimited fuel, because that should be gone down more. Anyways, now our AIM-7s are set up: small, normal, and 7 mic. Again, if you're going after longer range shots, mode loft. If you want a helicopter kill, mode helo. All right, don't forget about that one. So that's all good. Now we're going to talk about the radar. Here's the radar here. On this page, real quick, what I recommend doing is click menu, bottom left, azimuth, it's L5, and then make sure auto interrogate L5 is clicked to auto, so it's going to automatically interrogate friend or foe, bad guy, good guy. Menu, SA page. I'm going to go active pause, and we'll just leave it. We'll keep doing holds. I'm going to turn myself back around the other way. So I'm just going to click and hold my heading select, and I'll do 270 back the other way. All right, we're just going to keep doing little holding procedure that we do this. So this is the radar. I forget what the radar is actually called. Not an APG. I forget the name of the radar. But anyways, this is your radar. This is called the B scope. And basically the very bottom is you. You can see it says 0 miles. This is your airplane. All of this is your airplane. And then the top is the range that you're scanning currently. Now, just keep in mind, just because you're scanning 40 nautical miles does not mean your radar energy doesn't go further than 40 miles. If there's a fighter 100 miles away, they will, and you're pointing right at them, just because you're scanning at 40 miles, they're still going to get a radar warning receiver of a Hornet being out there. They just don't know where you are, maybe just yet. So just remember that 40 miles doesn't mean you're actually changing the radar's energy. The radar is energy and it just goes. But you're just showing yourself the different scale of what you want to see on the radar screen. We're going to talk about some things. Radar is better described as like a flashlight in a dark room. So if I put my flashlight on here, I don't know how well this is going to go in a video, but the iPhone lets me do this. I'm able to change the flashlight's width. I can make it narrow, centered on there. I can make it wider. I can make it brighter or dimmer. Okay? A radar is kind of the same thing. You can tilt the radar up. You can tilt the radar down. You can widen it both horizontally and vertically. And if you're pointing it right in the right spot, you'll find the shiny piece of metal, which is an airplane. So it's all about how you use the radar. Now, the radar in the F-18 sweeps 80 degrees left of the nose, 80 degrees right of the nose for a total of 140. You can see it right there. 140 degrees. So 140 total. 80 left, 80 right. Notice how long this takes. Left. Right. Left. If you know roughly where your bandit is, and you want a faster sweep, you're going to want to bring that radar, azimuth is called, narrower. So I'm narrowing my flashlight. I'm going to do a faster scan. So I click this button. Let me move my helmet mount display out of the way here. And notice we're at 20 degrees. Notice how fast these scans are. Much more accurate, more up-to-date scans that I'm doing. Right? So that's the first thing. You can control your azimuth like that. You can either click it, like I'm doing right now, with your mouse, or what if you have one of these, or you can use your HOTAS commands. I'll talk about the HOTAS commands a little bit later, but I can move this little cursor around, and I can click stuff with it. But I usually don't like doing that, so I'm going to put it back up there for right now. We'll just leave that alone for now. So that's azimuth. Narrow, or wider, narrower, as you want to go. Then you also have, you can think of it like azimuth in the horizontal. I kind of look like a certain politician. Anyways, we also have narrow, wider in the vertical as well. So those are called bars. At the top here, we're at 4 bars. So just as you saw, as long as it takes to go left, right, left, it also takes time for the radar to go up, down, and up. It just doesn't give you a visual. Actually, it does give you a visual representation. This little arrow right here kind of gives it to you a little bit. So you can see it's checking all the bars. We're at 4 bars. So let's go to it's down. And it does it only once it hits its stop. So stop, it changes. Stop, it changes. So 1 bar, 2, 3, 4. Now it's completed its full scan of 4 bars. of elevation, and it's looking, oh, let's fly the airplane properly. It's looking here, then it goes like this, and then it goes like this, and then it goes like this, and then it restarts. This, and it's doing that, and it's going up. So again, if you roughly know the altitude of the target that you're going after, you might not need to scan from ground level to 90,000 feet, all right? You don't need all that wasted space. Maybe you know the guys at 30,000 just cruising. So you can narrow your search both vertically and horizontally. And that's the goal when you're using a radar, is getting that situation, not really situational awareness, but getting that picture in your brain. And you get a really good understanding of the radar, in my opinion, when you use the F-18 backseat. It's very, very useful to learn that, in my opinion. We're going to click autopilot, barometric altitude hold. We'll press tango for auto thrust as well. Keep it at point. No, it doesn't work. Okay, we'll just set the power on there. So we've talked about, let's do heading select. We've talked about narrow wider, horizontally, it's called azimuth, and then narrow wider in the vertical, which are called bars. Now I can change the bars, just like I changed narrow wider left right. I can change it vertically. I can go down to 1 bar. So now it's scanning a very little piece. Now to demonstrate this, I'm going to put the cursor right in the middle. This is the 20-mile line. We have 40, 30, 20, 10, 0. This is me. All right, we're at the 20-mile line. Right now with 1 bar, we're scanning 27,000 feet to 34,000 feet at 20 miles. It's very important to understand that I'm doing this at 20 miles. I'm not scanning 27 to 34,000 feet right in front of me. I'm scanning that at 20 miles. I'm scanning this piece of sky out here, not closer to me. So that's where the radar energy is being focused. Okay, so at 20 miles. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click 2 bar, and you're going to see this should just jump. I'm not going to touch anything else, but I'm just going to click 2 bar. Click it once. We got 26 to 35, so we went down 1 or a couple, and we went up 1. So just a little bit more altitude that we're scanning. I'm going to go to 4 bar. The bigger difference, 23 to 37,000 feet at 20 miles, or just under. And lastly, 6 bar, which is 21 to 39. Now, just like a flashlight, or you think of an upside down ice cream cone. An ice cream cone starts like a point, very narrow, close to me. I'm the point. When you're flying the jet, you're at the point, and as you go further, it gets wider and wider and wider. It's the same thing as the radar. So take note, at 20 miles, let's put it to 20 miles again. At 20 miles, at 6 bar scan, I'm getting 20,000 to 40,000 feet. I'm getting a 20,000 foot window. Okay, watch this. I'm gonna go up to 160 miles. Let's put the radar all the way up to 160 mile range. Now I'm getting negative 46,000 feet to positive 99,000 feet. At the end of the ice cream cone, it's the widest it can be. As you get closer to yourself, it winds on down. So finding things on a radar screen that are at 5 miles are pretty difficult, especially when they're closing at 1,000 knots, right? So that's when you usually go eyes outside, you use your helmet, something else. Because once you get inside 8 miles with this, it gets a little too clunky. This is good, 10 plus, 15 plus miles is good to use this. Unless you got data link and that's something else, and we'll get into that. You get really confident using it. So just know that the ice cream cone, you're at the very tip. As you go further away from you, the ice cream cone widens. Just think of an ice cream cone holding it like this. The hole gets bigger as you go. Same thing as the radar. As you get farther away, the ice cream cone gets wider. You can scan a lot wider and a lot bigger area. Doesn't mean you need to scan all that. I'm just saying that's that. Alrighty, so a lot of talking. Next thing we're going to talk about, let's set this back. I like to usually set 2 bars, 2 to 4. And I usually like to set 60 or 80. Okay. Now, every time, if I go change my missile, let's go change it to, whatever, gun winder. And now we go back to aim 7. Notice it's changed it. It went back to 4 bars, 140. I don't want that to happen. So let's go ahead and click back to 60, back to 2 bars. All right. And this time I'm going to press set. All right, now it's set that specifically for the AIM 7 Sparrow. It did not set it for the AIM 120. So I'm getting my EWR back up. There we go. It did not set it for the 120, and it did not set it for the AIM 9, just for the AIM 7. Okay, that's what that set button does per missile it takes. So now, lastly, we're going to talk about, well, not lastly, but we're going to talk about the interleave mode, the PRF, pulse repeat frequency, at the bottom left here. This is a lot more sciencey than I know how to explain, but for the purpose of this video, you have three modes. You have high, medium pulse, so high pulse, medium pulse, and interleave, which just switches between high and medium. And right now it's an interleave, it's just switching between high and medium. All I want you to take away from this is high mode is for targets coming at you or away from you. Medium mode is best for targets going left and right of the nose. Inside 10, medium's pretty good too. So I usually find myself using high mode 95% of the time. I also find if you leave it in interleave, you'll find a lot of times you'll get someone locked up, and then it switches to medium and you lose the lock. So I like to just tell it stay in high mode, and I press set. You can do all of it, by the way, and then press set at the end. I'm just doing this as I go. Hopefully you guys are still catching on. If you guys have any questions, feel free to answer them or ask them now while we're still going. We appreciate you guys still watching. So that's that. It's getting hot in this room. So now this radar screen's been set up. Last thing I'm going to do is ghost contacts. This is, again, more than I need to explain now, but you're going to click data. I'm going to click this up at the top right corner to 32 seconds. Data and set. Just leave that for later. All right. We're talking about range wall scan and track wall scan, and we're going to shoot some stuff. We'll get to the fun part, I'm telling you. Range wall scan. We're in range wall scan right now, range wall search. Range wall search is the radar mode that's going to be the best for finding targets. If you have absolutely no idea where anybody is, there's no data link, there's nothing on your radar warning receiver, you're just searching for stuff. This mode will allow you to go up to 140 scan, 160 at 6 bars. Okay, it's going to get you the widest, the widest in the vertical, and the furthest out. You'll see the farthest, see the widest with this mode. Okay. Next thing is something called track wall scan. I'm going to click track wall scan. I'm going to click this button up here, L1. Now we're in TWS. Notice as soon as I clicked that, it went to 20 degrees left and right really quick. The reason that's 20 is because I'm at 6 bar. Right? Actually, let's put it back to 6. See if I can try to change it. Won't let me change it. Let's go to 2 bar. Now I can change to 40, 60, 80, but I can't get 140. Right? If I go back to range wall scan, 2 bars, I can get to 140. So the reason, though, that track wall scan is very, very useful is track wall scan. The Hornet has something called latent track wall scan and other stuff. But anyways, to make this simple, track wall scan is going to be your mode in most of your fighters that will allow you to track multiple targets other than just one. So if you remember, we were talking about the AIM 7 Sparrow needing all the radar's energy at one guy. That's going to be your range wall search mode, and you're going to have a single target track, an STT, single target track. But when you're using the AIM 120, you can use it in track while scan mode. I forget how many you can track at once, but you can track like 14 different targets. This airplane can carry 12 AMRAAM, so theoretically, you can track, lock, and shoot up to 12 targets all at once, 12 separate targets all at once, and shoot all the separate missiles at once. Track while scan allows you to do that. The other thing about track while scan, go back to range wall scan for a second. And if you got a range wall scan, a single target track, all your radar's energy is pointed at that one guy. That if that person has an RWR, which most do in DCS, they're going to get a radar lock tone that you lock them because their radar warning receiver has been overloaded by all your radar's energy that you're locking them with. In track wall scan mode, it's a much less energy intensive thing. So when you lock someone in track wall scan mode, they don't get a lock warning. Just think about that. So you'll be able to shoot the missile in DCS, and only when the AIM 120 goes active or goes pitbull, which is the last maybe 5 to 8 seconds from impact, that's when they get a missile lock warning. So it's a very, very useful little tool. We're going to use that a little bit later. We'll stick and track or range will scan for now. Go back to 80 miles and we'll be good to go. Dat says, how does the autopilot on the plane work? We covered that, but I can do it real quick. It's a good thing I got the MIP. It is, Owen, for sure. It's going to be very useful. Autopilot very, very quickly. We're in autopilot right now. You have attitude heading, heading select, barometric altitude hold, which we're in these two modes right now, and radar altimeter hold. The other one you have is coupled, which is LNAV basically. I'll click waypoint, coupled. The airplane starts to turn, but I don't want to turn that way, so I'll turn that back off and go back to heading select. To change your heading, down here is a heading knob. So I'll go ahead and click, let's say 240, and you can either do it like that, where you can hold it, or you can just type 240, enter. Right, and now it's 240. And we're already in heading select, so I don't have to re-click it, but you can re-click it. If you want to see what modes you're in, you'll get them down here. Menu, B Alt, heading select, right there. A, letter key A by default will disable the autopilot. I'm going to quickly turn the camera off, and I'm just going to turn my air conditioning on because it's ridiculously hot in here, so give me 1 second. Mute my mic as well. Be right back. Ask your questions. I'll just be right back. All right, guys, we're back. Just gonna go ahead and get your cameras back on so you guys can see it. Make sure it's all facing the right way, because getting out of here I kind of have to move. Of course it went off. There we go. There we go. All right. So that's all been done. Get my mic a little bit closer. I guess I can get this. Not really seeing anything from this view, to be honest. I'll have to change that later. But for right now, we'll keep it like that. Anyways, so back to the airplane. So let's go ahead and actually engage something. I'm going to spawn some targets. We'll press the radio menu. Oh, no. Don't tell me. It doesn't have the script. Doesn't have the script. Okay. We're going to have to go to a different server. This doesn't have any Hornets in it, other than the one I changed, but it didn't like that. Let me do one thing here. I might be able to fix it. I'm running a private mission with a script, but I'm thinking the script did not like me changing it to a Hornet. So I'm going to change this F-18 to a Hornet. See if it works. Just load it up with each missile type. I'll put the 9Xs on. We'll put 9X on one of the sides so you guys can see the difference. Save it. Hopefully that works. Blue, air, and hopefully this one has the script for me to spawn targets. Nope. I think the mission's just broken. All right, well, in that case, we're gonna have to just do an instant action, which is not really as good. What I'm gonna do is make a very quick little mission here. New, yes. Don't worry, I'll make this very, very quick. Used to be a mission designer actually a long time ago. F-18, we'll make it on client. We'll put some weapons on it. And put you at about 20,000 feet. Facing that way. And then we're going to put a couple red things. We'll start off with some easy stuff. We'll put some Russians, let's put a Russian, I don't know. Let's put a Sioux or something. Put a MiG-29. It's always a good one to start off with. I'm at 15,000. And then I'll copy him. Copy, paste. This one I'll put some weapons on. And then copy, paste. There we go. So we have about 30-mile split. I might increase that a little bit more just to have some time to demo it. And then I'll do one last one for an aim 9 kill there. Fly, no, start. Sorry about that, guys. I really hope the script was going to work, but I guess not tonight. So, Hornet. Oh, you know what I should do as well? That's fine. Well, I was going to show you data link, but that's okay. We'll do it the old school way. So, spawn in the Hornet. Just going to get the autopilot all set up. Barometric altitude, heading attitude hold. So, let's go over here. We'll set up our stuff again. Aim 7. I want 2 bar. Actually, I want 4 bar. I don't know where they are. Do 80-mile scan. High PRF. Data 32 and set. All right. So I'm going to pause. We have a couple things. We have a 29 here. And we have a 29 there. That means there's a MiG-29 radar in front of us. The reason I say radar is the MiG-29 radar is used in the Su-27, the Su-33, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not the 33, 27, and the MiG-29. So if a 29 appears, it doesn't technically mean it's a MiG-29. It could be a different aircraft with a MiG-29 radar in it, which is important because other airplanes carry different types of missiles that can hit you from further range than others. So, but right now it's a MiG-29 because I put a MiG-29 in here, so that's what it is. Now the first thing is, we don't know how far it is. We just know there's a 29 out there. So if you think about this logically, a MiG-29 or most general Gen 4 fighters can't really kill you from outside 40 miles. The F-14 can, but this is not an F-14. And the MiG-31 can, but it's not a MiG-31. So theoretically, if I was really going to do this, not for demonstration purposes, I'd actually just keep myself at 40 miles. There's no real need to look any further. You could if you want, but maybe to 80. But I'm not worrying until they're inside about 30, 20 miles. But for today, I'm going to put us up to 80 miles, and we're going to scan as wide as we can and see what we get going for us. So I'm going to unpause, 80 miles. We already found him. See that right there? Pause. I didn't even do anything. But that's where he is right there. So we're scanning minus 9,000 feet up to 48,000 feet. So we're scanning all that. Granted, that's at the 80-mile mark. But we picked him up. He's already there. All right. The cross is a bit from memory, I believe, is the building target. It's building the contact in its brain. It's getting more data from it. Getting a better solution. So that's all there and good to go. Now, next thing I do is determine, first of all, what missile I'm going to use on the guy, because that'll determine what radar mode I'm going to use on him. And even before that, is it a good guy or a bad guy? The easiest way is data link to do that. But right now it's unknown, and it's going to stay probably unknown for the whole time. But data link, when there's an AWACS in the air, well, it just tells you. So I'm going to unpause. I'm just going to make sure that IFF is on, data link is on, but we're not going to get any data. So I'm going to move my cursor, my TDC, my throttle designator controller. I'm going to move the cursor right on top of him. And I'm going to pause again. You get some information. Okay, the information you get is Mach 0.9. That's this right here. It's almost the speed of sound. And on the right side, you get his altitude. He's 15,000, or Angel's 15. If you ever hear Angel's 15, that means he's 15,000 feet. So now that we have this data, I know exactly where he is. It's not, let's just say this is the only guy here, which it is, the only guy here. There's not a whole lot of point to scan all this radar energy out while we can focus our radar energy on this one guy, because now we know where he is. We don't really want to quite lock him up just yet if this was a real like multiplayer server, because as soon as I lock him up, he knows that I'm looking at him, and he knows I'm locking him, and he knows that I care about killing him, which we don't want him to know just yet. But in this example, we're going to lock him up pretty early on. So the way I'm going to do it is very simple. I'm just going to hit my sensor control button, sensor controller to the right. And because, oh, maybe I should talk about this. This is the diamond. This is the SOI. This is the sensor of interest, or SOI, SOI, whatever you want to call it, sensor of interest. When that diamond is on this screen, that means all my controls on my stick and throttle work to the radar. So for example, if I had a FLIR camera, like a targeting pod on this side, and I'm mashing my buttons wondering why the pod's not moving, or I'm mashing my buttons and I'm wondering my radar cursor's not moving, that's because the diamond, the sensor of interest, is not selected. So if I want to use my radar, if it's on my right screen, I got to make sure my right screen is sensor of interest, and that allows me to use my HOTAS controls to one screen at a time, or the HUD as well. So just keep that in mind. So I'm going to hit my sensor controller to the right just once, because I already have it here as sensor of interest. If it wasn't sensor of interest, I'd have to hit once to the right and then a second time to the right to do the lock. So unpause, sensor controller to the right. Boom, we have it locked. Notice, I'm going to unpause. Notice the radar stopped sweeping. It just went straight on, and that's all it's got. And we're also getting jammed. You can see it says jam there on the bottom. Do that. There we go. Okay. Now, as soon as we do that, as soon as we get a radar lock, it was that simple, by the way. We have an STT, or a single target track lock. We get some symbology starting to appear. Okay. Now we have this stuff in the HUD starting to appear. A lot of very, very important information. That's it, right? So, and I just remember that's not actually a jammer. But anyways, we'll talk about that later. The first thing is you get the range. 36 miles, just shy. Next thing, you get the VC. This is the closure rate. So this is how fast you're coming to the merge. Usually, if the fighter's actually caring about engaging you or killing you, this closure is going to be 800 plus knots. So 600 is a little slow. That leads me to believe he's only doing like 250 knots. He's doing pretty slow. Okay. The next thing you get is obviously this giant circle here, right? And the circle actually means something. First thing first is you get this little range cue, or this little time to shoot. So this is, as we get closer or higher and faster, a lot of things affect how far you can shoot. It's called PK, probability of kill. A lot of stuff will determine your PK, your probability of kill. So if I instantly, for somehow, just went to 40,000 feet, I'd be able to launch a lot sooner, right? Because I'm higher, so the missile can use all its energy. But anyways, this is going to start ticking down as we get closer. I'm not going to speed up or do anything. I'm just going to hold level, and you're going to see it wind down counterclockwise here. And it's going to hit the first arrow. The first arrow is your R max, your max range. Okay. First of all, shooting outside this is pretty much pointless. Shooting just as it passes the first R max triangle is also usually pretty much pointless as well. What you're going to want to get into is this section. This is the sweet spot right in here. You don't want to get to this last one. if you're gonna if this tick mark goes all the way around and is under this, that's your arm min. You don't want to be under the minimum range because the missile won't have enough time to turn. So you want to be in between this. Now, lastly, there's this green dot right here. This green dot you want to put in the middle of the circle. The reason is, this is telling me if I shoot the missile right just like this, the missile's gonna come off the rail like this, ka-clunk, light its burner, and have to do a big right turn to go for the guy. And that big right turn costs energy. It costs speed, right? You want to make the missile's life as easy as possible. You're going to turn the airplane before you shoot it. When you shoot it, you want it to just go straight. So we're just going to put the dot in the circle, get a little closer, pull the trigger, and you're good to go. We have the aim 7 selected. It's back to the loft mode. I'm going to change that. Norm and size small. So back to norm, just like that. Lastly, sorry, I keep saying lastly, but you also get a box. This is where the guy is, somewhere dead center. Can't see him. It's called BVR, beyond visual range. You're not going to see them. I'm going to unpause, give my helm mounted display. You'll also might be able to see like that as well. So let's turn the airplane. Let's make the job of the airplane or the missile easier. As you can see, this tick mark is coming on down, right? Now, it's okay if you're a little above the dot like that. That's fine. You don't want to be below the dot because then the missile has to pull up, but pitching down is fine. It can do that. Okay, we're getting closer and closer. 22 miles. This little arrow right here, see that right there? It's telling you the bandit's coming right at you. If that arrow was on the other side, it means the airplane's going away from you. It's the easiest way to think about that. Lastly, you can see our IFF, our interrogate friend or foe, has automatically identified this as a hostile. He's increased the speed to Mach 1, and he's increased his altitude to 16,000, or Angel 16. Okay. So now we're going to keep going. Unpause. This tick mark's going to... Now, in reality, I'd be going Buster, which is full burner, and I'd be trying to get as much altitude on the guy to get more range than he has. That's what I would like to do. Okay, we're just going to pass the R max. Now, technically, if I put the dot in the middle, you'll get the shoot cue. We're going to hold off on that. Going to get a little closer. Little closer. We want to get in the no escape range. There's 8-9 miles there. I want to get in this no escape, which I think is 98% chance of a hit. PK. Look how close, okay? I'm going to pause. We went from having this guy locked at 30 plus miles, okay, at 19,000 feet. Didn't really change the speed all that much. To get to a no escape launch, we had to lose 30 of the miles. We're at 5 miles right now. That's all we have between this. It happens quick. It's all we have. Now, tactics wise, I'm not saying you should do what I'm doing. I'm just showing you things. Tactics wise, as soon as the carrot came to R max, you can fire off a shot, get him scared, make him go defensive, and then you can keep pressing the shot with maybe another one when you get closer. That's 100% valid. You can do that kind of stuff. I'm just showing the motions of it, how it kind of runs. And I'm not doing any tactics. I'm just kind of showing you how it works. So now, once we get inside the no escape, in theory, there's no escape unless he puts the missile, like a mountain between him and a missile or something like that. So I'm going to unpause. It's okay we don't have the shoot cue. The reason I don't have the shoot cue is the dot's not in the middle. I'm going to keep the nose up. That's fine. Unpause. Pull and hold the trigger. There's Fox 1 is what you'd announce. Missile comes off the rail. He starts going defensive. Diving down to the deck. Gonna watch the missile here. Splash. Didn't really have much time. There he goes. Pause. So that's a Fox 1 and a Splash. A Splash is when they die, basically. Splash 1 is 1 kill. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Got 6 kills. Splash 6, Splash 8, whatever you want to call it. So that's all good. That was the AIM 7. Now we're going to do an AIM 120. And you'll see that the no escape range on the AIM 120 should be further out than 5 miles. The AIM 7 is a pretty short range for a no escape. So we'll go ahead and select to the, we'll press sensor or press S, which is our undesignate button. The radar goes back to sweeping. I also like to press this reset button, which is R4. Now we're going to select our AIM 120 now. Okay. Now again, don't know where anybody is. Let's go out to about 80 miles scan. And I'm going to center my cursor around the 60-mile mark. Currently, I'm scanning 4 to 34,000 feet. Let's put myself in 4-bar scan so we get ground to 40. He can be anywhere. That's most fighters are going to live from ground to 40,000. And look at that. We just popped him up right there. All right? We have a general vicinity of where he is. Let's go and start honing in the scope, right? Let's put it to 20 degrees. And there he is. He's at 34,000 feet. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go 2-bar scan. And now we're going to introduce something. It's called radar elevation. You're going to want to have this button mapped. And basically what I can do is like tilt with a weather radar, if you guys are used to that. I can physically move the radar up and down. So now that I know he's at 34,000 feet, I'm scanning 9 to 30. I'm not going to start to see him anymore. I need to bring the radar elevation up so I can see him. He's at 34. So let's bring the radar elevation up. 42 is good enough. And now he's back and being a nice contact for us. All right, let's go ahead and pause. So I showed you the single target track with the Sparrow. Now we're going to go ahead and do an AIM 120 trackwell scan lock. So very, very simple. Just going to unpause. We're going to click trackwell scan, which is L1. And it already got the lock. It does it for you. You can see that the star is right there. And that means he's the primary target. If I had if I had 2 targets or more targets on screen, the other targets would have 2, 3, 4, 5, and numbers next to them. So as I shoot my missiles, we can step to each target. We have to manually step it. Last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to select this manual to auto. And what this is going to do is instead of me having to manually keep adjusting elevation and azimuth and do all this kind of stuff, I press auto and the radar is going to take care of it. It's going to follow the target for me, but still tracking other things as I do it. All right, so let's unpause automatic. Now I'm going to go full burner because he has missiles and he went fast and he went high. We're at 30 miles away. All right, let's put the dot on him. He's contrailing, so this is not a good thing for me at all. Let's pause. He has a higher elevation, which in theory, depending on the missile he has more range to get to me. I'm in a pretty bad spot over here. What I can theoretically do is I can fire off one of my less good, my AIM 7 missiles, get him scared, get him to go defensive, and then keep pressing him up with an AIM 120 later on. That could be a tactic you can try. We're just going to see how this goes today. We're not really doing any tactic stuff. Ghost means you're about to lose contact, about to lose the lock. The F-18 lately has been getting that a lot. We're going to bring our scale down just so it looks a bit nicer. Okay, notice we're just about to get to our max. It doesn't have a really good lock. You see it's kind of jumping around there. It doesn't have a great lock. Okay, pause. We have INLAR. Once you get inside that R max, meaning you can shoot now if you'd want. Might not hit, but you can shoot now if you want. Again, the no escape will be in here. That's the no escape, right? But let's send one out. And what we're going to do is we're going to... Oh, we're back to AIM 7. Whoops. We need AIM 120. My mistake. Trackwell scan. Oh, I think I screwed it up. Yep, now we have a missile coming at us. Well, I'm just going to do this. and then I'll reset and I'll show you guys again. And now we're gonna have to go defensive this guy's missile. You hear the lock warning, you hear the tone, that means it's a radar guided missile. I fired one off at him as well. Jumping some chaff, his missile's coming at me, my missile's going to him. Do you hear a lock tone anymore? Pause. I don't hear a lock tone anymore. Now this is where aircraft knowledge plays into DCS, which is a huge thing into DCS. Depending on the era, 1980s, 90s, whatever you're fighting in, depending on the era and the airplane you're fighting, you'll know that certain airplanes don't carry Fox 1s or they don't carry Fox 3s or whatever. This airplane, for this era, does not have any Fox 3s, meaning if he loses lock, it's gonna get trash. It's like the AIM 7 that we have. If we lose lock, you lose the shot. My missile that I fired on him, I can turn completely 180 and my missile's gonna still track and kill him, as it's currently doing. Take a look at that missile. It's gonna start going absolutely nowhere. It's not gonna track anything else anymore because he lost lock. Okay, you can see that he turned completely cold, it's called. We did this. The problem with doing this without a Fox 3 is the bandit does this, my missile tracks. The bandit does this, I do this. The bandit's missile does not track because he didn't have a Fox 3. That's where the Fox 3 becomes very important. Let's go ahead and unpause. We'll go ahead and watch. There's the splash. I missed it, but there was the splash of the MiG-29. I go out to safety, and the MiG-29 hopefully ejects into the water there. Let's actually show you an actual track while scan lock, though. I wanted to talk through what Pitbull and all that kind of stuff was. Let's go ahead and turn back to where that 29 is pointing from. You can see the 29 is pointing from right behind us. Will Winwing map a lot of the stuff for me? I don't believe so, no. The wing control, the Moza F-18 panel does come pre-mapped. Their sticks do not. Moza sticks, throttles do not, and wing control stick throttles do not. The wing control MIP though should come mapped for you. All right, I'm gonna center up. So basically, I'm just flying towards the 29. I'm putting him right on the nose. That's the enemy bandit right there. I just know he's a bandit because I put him there as a bad guy, but you wouldn't technically know that. Same thing. Let's go out to range wall scan. Let's go out to 80 miles. Put my cursor somewhere in the middle, and let's go 2 bar. Oh, we're starting to pick him up. There he is. We're going to select track while scan, auto. There we go. Let's select 2 bar just to get a better return on it. All right, same, but different. Let's go ahead and go back to the left. There he is right there. So you see this 45 ACT. First of all, let's put my power up. Let's get back up to our altitude here. A little bit higher. This is counting down in seconds. And this is saying when the missile is going to go active or pitbull. Basically, when the missile's radar takes over and I can blow up or turn around or do whatever, lose lock, and the missile's still going to track. If I were to shoot the missile right now, it would take 23 seconds. I'd have to guide the missile on my own radar for 20 seconds, and then it goes pitbull. I don't just launch this missile and it's fire and forget from this range. I'm a little too far. If I was closer, like that last shot, I shot at 9 miles, it's fire and forget off the rail. So it all depends on your range to the guy. Okay, let's go ahead and shoot this in a couple seconds. Just gonna get inside our max there. This guy's also above us, so the missile has to climb into him, right? That's bad for range. All right, let's go ahead and shoot. I'm gonna pause. One's coming off the rail right now. It's gonna be a good picture. Wait, pause. Did one already come off? Wait. Oh, I think it already came off. I missed the, no, I didn't. There it goes. What a good picture that is. That's a screenshot if I ever saw one. All right, anyways. Yeah, the call is Fox 3. Now, this comes into tactics again, but we can do something called a crank. There's no point for me to fire a missile, right, and just keep going straight, giving this guy better range to kill me. So what I'm going to do is after I fired a missile is I'm going to turn left or right. usually you want to turn to the least defended side or the most defended side from your team, if that even is a choice. Let's just say we're going to turn to the left in this case, if it's just a nose-on shot like this. For example, if you had two bad guys and you're this guy and they were like this, I wouldn't turn left because now that guy can kill you, right? I'd turn right. You want to get further than the plane, but in a single one-on-one, you can turn whatever way you want, depending if there's no SAMs and stuff. So let's turn to the right, for example. So instead of the closure rate doing this, the closure rate's going to do this. All right? And he has to waste energy to turn me or turn towards me and get a shot. And then also when my missile goes active, I'm that much closer to defending out. So Fox 3, I have 5 seconds for my mouse go. 5 seconds until the missile's radar, the one in the nose, goes active. So let's crank off. And I'm going to pretend, let's just pretend that said 15 seconds. I'm going to turn until this guy is just hugging the line. All right, so we're going to unpause, bring my scale in a bit more out. Just hugging the line. About there, right? Now, again, the missile is pitbull at this point. You can see that ACT turns to TTG, time on target, I believe it is. So 4 seconds until this missile impacts its target. But let's just say, again, that time was higher. I would keep them on that line, right? And there's things called double cranks. You can get fancy and stuff. But for right now, I'd keep them on that far edge line. And that way I'm that much closer to dip out. Right now, I can go 180 right away if I wanted to. In case he has anything on me, I'll just continue this right turn, completely get out of here. We'll watch the missile take flight. Boom, splash. All right, that's kind of how that works. Alrighty, so that's the AIM 7, that's the AIM 120, and lastly is the AIM 9. Various ways to use it. I think this guy's a little far. My throat's starting to go. He's at 60 miles. So we'll speed up time. I'll go burner. And we're just going to speed up time here. Whoop, too much trim. All right, that should be good enough. Let's go find this guy. I'm going to press a reset. Range wall scan. Bring the range on up. And I'll do 4-bar areas right there. Starting to lose him. I'm going to take a bit lower. Use my... Oh, you just can't see it. Sorry. There, he's starting to get picked up. Scan a little bit lower. There we go. Single target track. So, just so I can keep track of where he is. So, real quick. AIM 9. Let's go ahead and select the AIM 9. Let me put the sounds up a little bit so you guys can hear those sounds going on. That sound, that dee-doo, 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 that is a radar warning receiver saying I'm being locked currently, not shot at, just locked. The next sound you're going to hear is a low kind of growl tone. It's kind of like white noise currently. That's the AIM 9's searching. If you ever hear a high-pitched squeal, it's got a lock. Doesn't mean it's got a lock on what you want. Could be the sun, but it has a lock on something. I'm going to unpause. All right, so technically you don't need a radar lock at all. Oh, this guy actually has a missile. Okay, well, I might be screwed. I thought I gave him no missiles. Got a bunch of chaff and flare. Yeah, we're gonna kill him. I thought he had nothing on him. Let's see if my missile goes for him. No, I didn't have time to get a source. But we'll do AIM 9s in a separate day because my voice is starting to go anyways. I thought I loaded him with nothing on his airplane. But the AIM 9 is the easiest to use. It just tracks with a heat source. So you can lock someone up with the radar and the AIM 9 will slave to it immediately and you can just shoot. Or you can just use the AIM 9 seeker head to actually lock something. You can't manipulate it that much, but you can look around with your helmet and tell it what to lock as well. So the AIM 9 is very, very cool. But I think that's a good stop to end it right there. Control you 3 times? I don't know if we can have... No, we're dead. You don't have the ability. I thought I had them loaded with nothing on board, but I guess I gave them some missiles. But yeah, we'll stop there. I hope this was enjoyable. I know it was a very long video. My throat is basically done for at this point. I don't know if anybody will actually utilize this information, but now it's on YouTube, and you guys can watch it back and do that kind of stuff, take notes, and hopefully get into DCS. So we will cover maybe part 2 on a different day. We'll do some more of the flight stuff. We'll do some on-speed AOA landing, do some air refueling, and then carrier case 1, which I do have a presentation for, so we'll do all that. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.